Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Fours and Sixes with me Gomesh and obviously Kalyani Mangale. Thank you for joining. It's been less than a week since the IPL circus finished, but cricket calendar is such that it's a circus that never ends. We are here for the next big event in cricket, the T20 World Cup. A lot to discuss about. First, where it's happening. It's happening in USA and West Indies. A lot of new teams, favorites, a lot to discuss about in this discussion in this particular episode on what to expect in the first week of the tournament. So, without further ado, Kalyani, your first thoughts on the tournament itself and what it represents in the scheme of where sport is in US and uh, is there any excitement in that sense because the calendar is such that it's been a lot of buzzkill with respect to the number of
Yeah,
matches that's been played,
yeah,
but at the
it's.
same time, new avenues, new temporary stadiums. So, what do you expect from this tournament?
I think it takes me back to when we were in school and the World Cup was such a big event. Like it was an event, and we would be waiting for what's the next to come. Such has been the time, such has been the schedule with not just the franchise leagues and the bilaterals and all this. It feels like, and it has been the case that World Cup is almost every single year. And we had the ODI World Cup in 2023 in India, and now this whole thing is shifting to US in the T20 format. So it's interesting that. I think if I'm not wrong, it's been ages since the West Indies have hosted the World Cup. They've been one of the most successful sides with two championships with them. But this is also happening in the USA. USA making their tournament debut because they are the host as well, and it's happening in West Indies. We know how much of the crowd is going to be there. It's the schedule is such as to attract the viewership from the subcontinent, but the venues are such that's to attract the viewership, especially from the people who are migrated in subcontinent. So it's something new that is to look forward to, but it's for sure that this is what the entire world must have felt when the World Cup was in India, scheduling wise. You have to get up early, go to bed very late, but we'll be doing all that, no problem in this tournament. And India doesn't start playing soon, so we'll talk about India in coming times. But for all the teams that are there, this is, I think, the biggest time that so many teams are part of the World Cup in four groups, 20 teams, and it's going to be interesting in the sense that there is the increased amount of competition, and still, even after you have IPL going on, the franchise leagues going on, still there is no sure shot winner that we can sit today and tell you. It's not the case that we can sit here and today and tell you who is going to win the World Cup, which means it's still going to be very competitive World Cup, and the conditions in the West Indies and USA are going to be very challenging. So we'll see in the first week how it goes. That's like the conditions will be on target of everyone, is like how it's playing. All the predictions been made about what the pitches are going to be, do the teams have enough amount of spinners and all those things, but only first week we'll understand if the predictions were right or wrong.
In many ways, it is an uncharted territory
Yeah.
with the tournament going there with USA as co-host, new temporary stadium being built with 34,000 capacity in Nassau County near New York, and then there is one more host venue in Dallas and one more in Florida. Will be a lot of uncharted territory even for the teams as to what they can expect from the conditions, training facilities. We even saw that the ground in New York doesn't have a net practice outside of you know the premises. Teams will be training somewhere else in the lead up to their matches in the ground. So a lot of interesting aspects to look forward to, and this. But it also holds a lot of significance in the larger picture
Yeah.
with cricket's inclusion in the LA 2028 Olympics. How this is being received in the US, Americas, and in the larger scheme of things of other Olympic nations, and because once they come in, that's where the breaking point
Yeah.
will be for cricket to become a global sport. In many ways, it's a first step towards that. But then again, there are also other factors that one will have to consider, because cricket as such still has the largest audience in the subcontinents, which is exactly why a lot of the matches, including one of the semi-final and India matches, will be played in the 10:30 a.m. morning local time, whereas the other it's mostly three games a day. One game starts at 6 a.m. Indian time, which is evening there, and the other game is 10:30 p.m., which is like afternoon there. But all the main matches, India matches, will be starting at 10:30 a.m. local time,
Yeah.
and it will be interesting to see how the crowd turns out for that, and what kind of viewership that the matches get, especially in those areas, the local countries, host countries as well. But again, the coming back to the tournament itself, the first match, co-host USA versus Canada, which is the first international match recorded
About.
220 years ago. So, and you'll probably be writing about it. So, how fascinating is that? Like, it's like almost like history is repeating itself in many ways.
I'm not sure if this was in organizers. It was like, let's get on with that. Let's start the tournament with the first recorded match in history, like the competitive match amongst nations. And it's interesting to know that the paths of both teams are quite been similar to the way they have grown their cricket, and the way they have coming to the tournament. The qualifiers has been the way for the Canada and USA there, because of they are hosting the tournament. But given how much of the migrant community is there and how many of them are interested in the game, it's interesting that it's starting with that tournament. A lot of questioning needs to happen around how these teams have now gotten a lot of opportunity to practice because of weather. And that weather is still, there's a prediction of rain on India Pakistan match in New York. So that is also needs to be, I just hope that, like, given the bigger picture, like you said, the aim of the tournament is to make the game, especially when it's being played in USA, is that make it available for the American audience, because they are the biggest, one of the biggest sports market in the world, given how much the NBA and NFL and MLB are there. I just genuinely hope that, because the weather conditions were not right, this golden opportunity of expanding the game in the USA doesn't go west. And it's starting with the tournament starting with the US Canada. It's like good for the domestic viewers also, is that they can again get it in the action right from the get go and start having the interest in the tournament. And we've seen in the franchise league that happens in USA, there was a consistent enough support in the southern states of USA for the cricket in MLC and Major League Cricket, and they would love to have all of this again. And preferably, I think New York being the biggest market, and Florida and Texas being where the support has been there, is why they're being chosen. So it will be interesting to see after 200 plus years how if the history repeats again, or if there's a new result this time around, we'll see. But for me, most important thing is other than USA, the co-hosts are West Indies, and they did not make it to the ODI World Cup despite going through the qualification process and missing out. It was hard to see a World Cup without West Indies, but they're back. It's their format. They made it to the. There's so many players or quality players that made it to the international level because of their hitting prowess. So, what are you thinking about West Indies?
One of the clear favorites for the tournament,
Yeah.
easily. Not just because the format as such, they're also playing at home,
Yeah.
and they're also packed with all-round hitters, quite a few hitters. In fact, the only area where they'll probably lack is the experienced spinners in the team. In posing spinners, they have Akil Hussain, and they have quite a few, Roston Chase, and there's one more like spinner as well. But at the same time, uh, one of the clear favorites for the tournament. But again, this tournament, like the last two, is going to be such a lottery in such that if you ask someone who is going to be your top four at this point in time, it will be incredibly tough to name because there is England, there is New Zealand, there is India, and then there is South Africa, again one of the strongest teams there is in this format at this point in time. So I think the group stages might still take some time to warm up,
Yeah.
but once the tournament moves to the Super Six stages,
Yeah.
it's going to be an absolute thriller of a World Cup.
Absolutely, and the number of associate nations that are part of this is something really interesting, that the tournament is getting into the number of teams that are participating, and there are so many associate nations, and they've gone through all the qualification process. Their journey has not been easy. They're not handed the lottery. The journey has been very difficult for most of these teams, and how are we looking at the association representation? Because in past, whenever the World Cup has happened, they've not turned out quite well, but now they have experience behind them. The countries like Netherlands also played in the ODI World Cup and did cause an upset when they beat South Africa. So how are we looking at that association representation, and is this the
It's
way
the
to
format.
take
It's the
the
format.
game forward? Yeah.
It's the format. Obviously, there could be more teams in this format, especially. It's a format that's meant to spread the game because of the time it takes, especially to cater to a new audience. But again, these nations, they have been associated, but they have been around for a long time. There are multiple reasons why they are where they are. They
Yep.
could have been so much more better at this point in time. But talking about the tournament itself, I am particularly interested to see how Uganda and Nepal plays. Two teams have had their incredible journeys into the tournament, especially more than the Americas, more than any other continental region. It's Africa where both the men's and women's teams, apart from South Africa, is blooming and growing at a rapid pace. And Uganda has beaten everybody to come here.
Yeah.
They won the qualifier to come here.
Yeah.
And then there is Nepal, who has put up a fight in the Asian Continental tournament, as well as they played the Asia Cup last year as well, though it's in a different format.
Yeah.
So these two teams are something I'll be very much looking forward to, especially Uganda. Keep an eye, because African cricket is where the gold mine of
Next boom is, yes.
Yeah, next cricket movement is.
And looking at the complete bigger picture of the tournament, I know we are talking about the first week and everything and all. The tournament is getting over really quick. We had IPL that lasted for almost 2 months, more than 2 months, and we have this tournament which is 4 matches a day, very quick. So do we think that this is, even though we are talking about like this is it's happening in America, big market, way to take the game forward, 4 matches a day, is it how we want to take it forward?
No, I mean, if cricket is going to be a global sport, that's probably the way to take it forward, as we have seen the way Football World Cup happens.
Yeah.
This is probably the most global sport there is. So that's probably how it's going to be. But again, it all comes down to where the market is. Cricket at this point, cricket's market is predominantly in television rights, which is why you see a lot of other extravaganza that's associated with the sport that's catered to the television audience rather than people who are in the ground. But again, I honestly, it's still 29 days. It's not as small as we make it out to be.
True.
It's still an entire month that will be, because it's not just group stages and semi-final. There is also Super 6 stages as well, Super 8 stages as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the soon more teams come, the tournament is going to happen this way, because otherwise it will be another 2 month longs of
True.
World Cup, and that is not something you could have in the international calendar we have right now, especially with a lot of franchise leagues that's coming around. So
True.
which is a different topic altogether. But
Yeah.
then again, if cricket is going to expand, this is the way to go. We'll have to wait and see how the first week goes.
Yeah.
Because a lot of uncertainty, a lot of uncharted territory. Even the build-up hasn't been as exciting as such, because Most of the players have been in the IPL playing rather than being in the conditions playing bilaterals, where you can see how the teams are shaping up. So only after the first few games you'll probably have a better idea on how this World Cup is going to be.
Yep. And this, on that note, we would like to officially say that the sports total, he started with saying the circus, but the bonanza is just starting. We have this World Cup, then we'll have Euros, and then there is the biggest one of the year in Olympics, and you will get all the updates, all the stories, all the behind the scenes from us at the Sports Desk from New Indian Express. And thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you soon.
Bye.